All right, I'm excited to bring you this last episode, episode 9 of Empty by Eric Ruggles. The episode is called Empty as well, and we're going to find out in the ending, and it is a good ending. Um, if you've missed my first 8 episodes, you can go to my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/@Eric Ruggles, and you can go to the playlist of Empty Podcast, and you can watch the first 8 episodes, or you can listen to them in the car, listen to them while you're at work, whatever you want to do. I just hope you're enjoying the story that I've brought you. Episode 9 tonight, and while you're on the YouTube, my YouTube channel, please subscribe. I appreciate all the subscribers I have, and I'm very thankful, hoping that you guys have been enjoying my podcast of episode 1. So let's go to season 9. Where we left off is basically Rachel, Charles, and Rayden are driving to Drew Barnes' house. They called Drew, asked him for his help. What they needed was his computer skills. He's pretty good with the computer, a hacker, so to speak. And Drew said he would help them. So when they got there, Rayden had to spill the beans about his powers, or he felt Drew would not believe what was going on. So he did that, showed him a few things, a few tricks, and Drew ended up believing. So Drew found the lighthouse at Ipswich Bay, in which his mother was being held captive by Creo and Darren. And he also found out a loophole to kind of end Creo's life. He found out that a lunar eclipse takes away the powers of witches and warlocks, but it's about a 30-minute window that they have, that they lose their power. All right? And we explained all that in the last episode, episode 8. And so what they're doing now is they're hopping in Rayden's car. They're going up I-95 north. All right? And they are going to get to the lighthouse and try and save Rayden's mother. So this is where we left off. As they get closer, Drew and Rachel held back a little to allow Rayden and Charles to go in first. The lunar eclipse started. As Rayden pushed open the lighthouse door, and as the door swung open, there stood Creo. He was with Rayden's mother, tied to a chair. Rayden stood there, 12 feet from Creo. Rayden knew he was powerless because of the eclipse, but so was Creo. Creo started to explain that he wanted all the powers, and it was Rayden's time to die. Rayden chuckled a little bit and proceeded to walk toward Creo. Creo said, "One blast from me, and it will knock you on your ass." Rayden knew he had no powers at this time because the lunar eclipse was in effect. So Rayden replied, "I'm just going to plain kick your ass," and ran toward Creo and landed a hard right to Creo's jaw. Creo, dazed a little, got up and tried his powers, but they did not work. He was stunned. He was confused. And Rayden said, "You have no powers during the lunar eclipse," and he began to fight Creo. The fight went to the ground, which favored Rayden. Rayden had him in a rear naked choke, and Charles ran over to them. While Rayden controlled Creo, Charles looked for Creo's stone. He began searching Creo and then asked, "Where's the stone?" Creo laughed and gagging, "You'll never get my stone." And like all evil people, they brag about how smart they are. And he blurted out his secret. Creo, between grasps, explained, "I have my stone implanted under my ribs, and you will never get to it." Creo then tussled some more as a shot rang out from above, and Darren's bullet hit Charles, staggering him to the ground. Creo and Rayden continued to wrestle, even with the chokehold Rayden had on Creo. Another shot rang out, and this one hit Rayden, loosening his grip. Now the bullets would not kill Charles and Rayden. Only crushing the stone would do that. So both were still alive and would shortly recover from the bullet wounds. With the loosened grip, Creo took advantage of position with Rayden and pinned Rayden to the ground. Rachel and Drew heard the shots and entered the lighthouse. Rachel saw Rayden's mother tied in a chair, and she started toward her to free her and then escape. Drew looked for Darren, and then another shot rang out from above. This time, the bullet projected through Rachel's skull, and she fell to her death instantly in a pool of her own blood. The horror from what happened set in on Rayden, and he became crazy with anger. Another shot rang out, and it pierced the heart of Rayden's mother, killing her instantly as she slumped over in her chair. Drew heard the shots, and his eyes directed to where he heard the shot come from, and he saw the rifle barrel peeking over the balcony ledge upstairs. So Drew proceeded to head up the stairs to stop Darren. During Creo's and Rayden's tussle on the ground, the family stone of Rayden came out. It came out of Rayden's pocket and on the ground. Charles, gaining his composure, went to grab the stone, and another shot rang out, hitting the stone, splitting it in half. It did not shatter the stone. It was such a precise shot, it just split the stone. Immediately, another shot rang out, and this time it shattered one of the halves of the stone. Drew finally got to Darren and surprised him, and they began to struggle on the balcony above. The shattered stone half began to take effect. It was Charles' half. Charles began to disintegrate into dust and was gone, for it was his half of the stone that was shattered by the second shot on the stone halves. Rayden needed to salvage the other half and not let Creo get to it. Creo was angered, shouting at Darren, "You fool! I need to crush the stone. Only I can crush it to gain the powers." Darren couldn't gain any powers because he was not a warlock, so it would not be good if he crushed it, and Creo would lose a shot at gaining the powers from Charles. Now all he had left was the powers from Rayden. So he demanded Darren not to shoot at the stone again, so that Creo could crush the stone and gain the powers of Rayden. As Creo was shouting and not focused on Rayden, Rayden saw the moonlight from the window behind Creo. He knew the eclipse was over. Powers were back, unknown to Creo at this time. Darren and Drew continued to struggle, and the two began rolling uncontrollably toward the edge of the balcony. The fight took them over the edge of the balcony, killing them both instantly when they fell. During the struggle of Drew and Darren, the gun had fell to the ground near Rayden and Creo. The distraction of Darren and Drew gave Rayden a small window to react. He wrestled Creo off of him and rolled over to grab the last half of his family stone. And without hesitation, Rayden stuck out his hand and telepathically began to move Creo's stone out from beneath his ribs and body. There was an explosion of blood, skin, and even some bone as Creo's stone came flying toward the outreached hand of Rayden. The ripping of the stone from Creo's body brought Creo to his knees. Rayden, with no smart-ass lines, no monologuing, and no regret, saw the rifle and grabbed it. He laid Creo's stone on the ground and shot it point blank, shattering the stone into millions of pieces of dust. Rayden then watched as Creo fell to the ground and disintegrated away into dust. Rayden then fell to the ground as Creo's powers formed a ball of energy and shot into Rayden. Rayden had received Creo's powers. Rayden then laid there and exhausted, but it was not over yet. The lighthouse was a killing ground for witches and warlocks, and the spirits began to appear to Rayden. The spirits, one by one, flew into the body of Rayden, and all the powers those witches and warlocks had were now Rayden's. Each spirit would rock Rayden's body as one by one they entered. Before the last spirit penetrated Rayden's chest, it spoke and said, "You now have all the powers from the witches and warlocks murdered here at the lighthouse in Ipswich Bay. It is our gift to you, the last of our kind." Rayden laid there exhausted. He had countless powers such as regenerating, transporting, spells, invisibility, mind control, etc. They were all his. The powers he gained made him a very dangerous weapon, one could say almost indestructible. Rayden finally sat up. He looked at his dead mother and girlfriend. He turned and saw Drew's guts on the ground, and of course, his father was gone. Rayden grabbed the half of the stone left and decided it would be smart to implant it inside his body to keep it safe. He would do that first thing after he got out of there. Everyone close to him was gone. He felt empty, like nothing mattered anymore. But Rayden took a deep breath and realized he had great powers, a gift, and he could fill his emptiness by avenging all evil in the world. So Rayden said to himself, I guess the world has a new superhero, and walked out the door to face his new future. There's the blood scene, and then the door. So hopefully you've enjoyed episode 9. That's the ending of my first season. Rayden did survive it, but nobody else did. So now Rayden has to figure out what he's going to do. And that's where we pick up in season 2. And I hope you join me for season 2. I will put out probably some videos telling you when it's going to be coming out as it gets closer. But I'm looking to project it around Thanksgiving. Pretty close to done, and I'm pretty excited about this new one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. And thank you very much for tuning in.